To represent the US in the Collins Cup, it confirms almost to myself that I'm up there in the best athletes.
This is the first ever Collins Cup. All the greatest athletes are here. Team Europe, Team Internationals, Team US. For the first time in history, the road to the Collins Cup starts here.
Whatever I do, I want to be successful at it. I don't want to be mediocre at what I do in my life because I have one life, one main thing I'm going to try to be good at in this life, and so I want to be excellent at it, and that became triathlon for me. I love just kind of pushing my limits. It just makes you feel alive. Being connected to nature, that's what keeps me going. I love endurance sports, and I fell in love with just endurance sports and triathlon when I was younger, thanks to my dad. While growing up, my dad always did Ironmans and brought us to all those races. So triathlon was always around. I mean, having my dad around was nice. I mean, really, I got to know, just kind of have someone that was more developed into the sport, obviously, around. So I got to learn much more early about everything triathlon. It's definitely nice to have someone that takes interest into what I do.
All the top are all the trophies you can see around. Then you see all the pictures, frames with posters, all the major races, all the different world championships. So I started the sport in 27 and I stopped the sport at 31 and I would turn pro at 30. So in a certain way, I had a lot of things that I still wanted to do and I couldn't do. And it just happened that destiny, gave me a son. Yeah, in a certain way, has ingrained in himself, the same passion that is way beyond my footsteps. Now he's way ahead, but in a certain way, I'm living a part of my life, which is the triathlon part of my life. I'm living that, or in a certain way, reliving that through him.
I had a very happy childhood. A lot of things were around sports. My dad always loved sports. My mom obviously encouraged it too. And living here is absolutely awesome for developing that side of me. South of France and just around this house, we just have a lot of nature and the pool, and with my parents pushing me to do it, and the surroundings really just kind of made me who I am.
Usually when you're growing up in this type of environment, you become more lazy than other things because you basically consider that you have it all. But since the beginning, I told me you have to earn everything you have here, and I will never help you if you don't help yourself first. And so Rudy understood that since the beginning. And of course, he had certainly a better environment, a better upbringing than many people, but he never took anything for granted. But I made sure that he understood that. And he became, the fantastic person he is now. Not only a professional triathlete in the top of his sport, but also a great human being. So, which in certain ways is maybe the most important thing.
Yeah, well, so I was born in the US, and then just like 3 weeks later, and then we moved back here. I grew up here till I was 19. Till I went to college in Boulder. I think my first race ever was here. I was maybe 5 years old, and they had this run race here every summer, and it starts right down here. The gun shot was so loud that I never started the race, and I just was on the start line crying. It's pretty funny.
As a child, he was always very calm, and he used to play for hours on end, all alone, No problem, he was just the way he is. I think that's the way he was born.
We were kind of referring to him as Socrates. He was 14, 15, 16, because he was very zen. That's why I think he has a very good character for triathlon, because Triathlon is really a sport where you can face many incidents during the race that can stress you out.
My parents, when I was young, always kind of told me, yeah, I had just this kind of calm and collected, and I just think about things in a slightly different way and don't get very worked up over things. You always see these people that have all sorts of excuses after every race, and I feel like I'm one of those athletes that it's exactly the opposite.
I think if my motivation were not to be basically world champion every time I would compete in a world championship, the consequences would have been a bit different in the life of the family, because the demanding aspects would have been different. Since I wanted to be always at that level, it has consequences for everybody. Rudy growing up saw that and kind of took for him about maybe 80% of it, and the rest he developed it on his own. We are extremely similar up to 90%, and then there is a 10% where we're very different.
A girlfriend who gave it to me, she read it and wanted me to read it. She doesn't want me to have too big of an ego. So yeah, it's pretty interesting just to pretty much stay humble and keep on doing what you love without chasing external motivations.
Well, he said, during the World Championship race in Nice in 2019, he said what really spurred him on also was, the people along the roads were shouting out his name. And so obviously that's really cool. That's really nice. He is humble. I mean, he still thinks, which in a way is true, that he hasn't really accomplished anything in the sport yet. So, he's ready to grow and ready to move on and do his thing.
20 years of sports. I've found that sometimes success feels empty. So I've won races that I've kind of dreamt of winning, but I have a weird feeling of emptiness after the race. It's like, almost like, oh, I did it, okay. And it's almost like I want to feel more emotions. And it's just how we are as athletes. We're never really satisfied with our level. We always see these amazing feats in the individual sports, and we'll never get to that level being a triathlete, obviously. So it's almost, we're doomed to never be happy, I found out that I lost the #1 US spot just at home, watching the PTO stats after St. George. Sam Long is #1 US now, and he earned it by racing at a very high level that I wasn't able to race well. And he got a lot of points and he passed me. It's on me to race better if I want to be #1. I think the sport of triathlon has evolved quite a bit since my dad raced, and especially now with the arrival of the PTO, that can really take triathlon to the next step. And with events like Collins Cup. Collins Cup is the marquee event of the Professional Triathletes Organization that's trying to bring triathlon to the next level, essentially. Jan Frodeno is the best athlete in Team Europe. We have the Australians, we have Lionel Sanders in Team International. The best head-to-head you can be in is probably these two athletes I just mentioned. And I think it would be interesting for me because Jan would swim faster than Lionel. I would be either with Jan or slightly behind, but I'd be in front of Lionel. So we'd have this dynamic where Jan is ahead, I'm pretty close, and Lionel's trying to catch up. As an athlete, if I could represent the US in the Collins Cup, it would just be an opportunity for me to show that American triathlon is one of the best in the world. My message to anyone who doubts us would be that just never underestimates the Americans. Americans always rise to the occasion.